Ethnic's Page and Echo with this one titled See Me, featuring King Elegant. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Mix. Just 14 minutes past 8 on this Thursday morning. Let me say good morning to my crew as well. Morning, Neville. Morning, Maria.
Morning.
You guys sound like you're still asleep.
Moro.
Why are you so loud? Oh.
Okay, no, I'm excited about many things here in the studio, okay? Our guest in the studio.
Yes. And of course, we have a special guest in the studio today, like we announced to you yesterday, Dr. Eric Dziuban from the CDC. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Mix.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here.
Doc, can you please greet us in one of the local vernaculars, please?
Moalalapo.
Moalalapo.
Nawatu.
Of course, Dr. Eric is here, so we discussed the global outbreak of COVID-19, or this new strain of the coronavirus that is really causing problems everywhere. Everywhere it's popped up so far. And I've been doing so much research. Like now, all I see in my head is that little coronavirus thingy that picture. I don't know why they even keep showing it. Like you're gonna see it somewhere and recognize. Like, oh, it's the coronavirus. But anyway, good morning, Dr. Eric. Welcome once again to the Morning Mix. So maybe let's start first with. By now we all know that it broke out in Wuhan, China. It has been spreading quite fast. As a matter of fact, it's spreading faster than the swine flu, which turned out to be from 2009, I think, which ended up being the biggest epidemic of the millennium. What are the current numbers looking like?
Yeah, sure. I wrote them down because they've been changing so quickly.
Yeah.
So, that's true. As of this morning, we've got about 95,000 cases around the world. Of those, 80,000 in China. But really now what we're seeing is other countries are seeing spread faster than China. So the new numbers in China are coming down, but we've got big numbers in South Korea, Italy, Iran. Those are the three places that we're seeing the biggest outbreaks at the moment. But it's spreading out. There are 87 countries and territories that have cases right now. Fortunately, none in Namibia, none in our neighboring countries. There are a handful of countries in Africa, Northern Africa mostly, and then Senegal, Nigeria, with just a couple of cases. But this is the part of the world that's actually seen the least of this so far.
How is this new strain of the coronavirus? How is it different from, for instance, the SARS or MERS or the common cold? Because we've heard it being compared to the common cold as well.
So if you go back 20 years and you talk about coronaviruses, you go back to when I was in medical school and you talk about coronaviruses, you were talking about the common cold. That we knew of 4 coronaviruses that infected humans. There's a lot of other ones that infect animals. And all 4 of those just caused a common cold type of a picture. Runny nose, cough, maybe a fever, get better in a few days, always. And then in 2002, 2003, SARS came out. And that was the first time we ever saw a coronavirus that was severe, that could kill people, that caused an outbreak like this. And SARS was very deadly, and it spread, and then it ended relatively soon after a few thousand cases.
Yeah.
Then 2012, another coronavirus, MERS. That one came up in Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, from camels. And what we've never seen is good transmission from people to people. The people that are getting MERS are getting it from animals. So it hasn't turned into a huge epidemic.
Yeah.
And now this one has come. So this is only the 7th coronavirus we've ever seen in people. And like MERS and SARS, it's a deadly one. It can cause death. It does not seem to be as deadly as those in terms of the percent of people who it kills, but it's spreading faster than SARS or MERS. So we have to take it very seriously.
Okay, what is the actual mortality rate at the moment, percentage-wise?
We're still learning that. We were saying 1% to 2%. WHO yesterday said it's about 3.4% based on what we know now, the number of cases and the number of deaths we've seen. But this early in an outbreak, in an epidemic, a lot of times you're not seeing all the cases. You're seeing the worst ones. They're the ones coming to the hospital. People are sick, they need help. People who are having more of a mild illness, they're more likely to stay at home, so they might not get counted. So it might not be 3%, it might be 1 or 2, maybe even less, but that's where we're at right now.
Is this what I was reading an article about scientists trying to understand why the Africa hasn't really been, I think it's been spared for the most part? Is it that people aren't reporting cases and they would rather just stay at home because they assume it's a common cold? Or is it because we don't have as many, perhaps, like people traveling into the continent?
That's a great question. We all wonder that. So one possibility is that it just hasn't made its way here yet. Infected people haven't come. Maybe, if people are feeling ill or they've been exposed, they're just less likely to come here. The weather may play a component. We know right now it's quite warm in Namibia, in our neighboring countries. It's summer here, end of summer. And because of that, people tend not to be sharing air as much. It's harder for diseases to spread when the windows are open, when people are spending more time outside. So that's why, for instance, the flu, you see it in the winter months. In the southern hemisphere, you see it in your winter. In the northern hemisphere, they see it in their winter. It changes through the year. So that could be a part of it. It's possible we've had some cases in southern Africa that just a person showed up, they got it, maybe they had a mild case, it went away, they didn't infect anyone, and we'll never know. That's possible.
Okay.
But at this point, if it was spreading a lot, we would know.
Yeah.
We do have surveillance, we do have tools to test for it here, so I'm not worried that it's spreading widely without our awareness.
Okay. Is it possible to differentiate the symptoms from like other symptoms, for like the common cold, for instance?
Not really.
More
Not
or
really,
less the
no.
same?
It's fever, it's cough. If it gets severe, it's difficulty breathing, but that looks like a lot of other infections.
Yeah.
I saw a report this morning with the Chinese ambassador in Namibia saying that over 200 Chinese nationals has been quarantined at this moment in time. Obviously, as a precautionary measure to the coronavirus. Any information on that?
Well, that's what the Namibian government has asked, is that if you're traveling here from China, that you would be in self-quarantine, monitoring yourself for symptoms for 2 weeks to make sure that if you were exposed in China, but you're still feeling fine and you come to Namibia, that you don't get sick here and start spreading it.
Okay. 2 weeks, is that like more or less the time it takes for symptoms to start up here?
We think that's the maximum.
Okay.
I've been reading some of the science coming out just in the last few days, and in reality, most of them, it looks like 3 to 5 days is about how long between when you get exposed and when you are sick yourself. But we're saying 2 to 14 days is the wide range.
Oh, all right.
Okay. And now we've seen the situation in China, of course, is starting to improve. But what does it look like on the ground in Wuhan, which was, of course, the epicenter of this COVID-19?
So we know they did a lot of things in Wuhan to try to stop transmission, and everything basically shut down. And people were staying in their homes. It was very restricted movement of people. And now we're seeing lower cases. And I think the question on everyone's mind in regards to Wuhan and some of the other major cities in China is, what will it look like as people start going back to work, going back to school, as the industries start again? Will they be able to keep the cases down, or are they going to get worse as people start interacting again? And we know that WHO is watching that very closely, as is the Chinese government.
Okay. I forgot my tinfoil hat at home, but I want to dabble in some conspiracy theories. Like especially Wuhan and the amount of foreign nationals who are traveling through the city almost on a daily basis, international students and so on. I mean, some people are saying it would probably be the best place to spread a virus if you wanted it to reach almost everywhere in the globe. And of course, there were also reports that the Chinese government was trying to suppress some of the information at the initial onset of the outbreak. So, what do you have to say?
Well, we know China has a really big population, right?
Yeah.
Around 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 humans on Earth are in China.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising when an outbreak starts there, because there's just so many people. I'm trying to do the math in my head, comparing the population of Namibia to the population of China. I think
We're
you
probably
need...
a village, eh?
Now we're the population in a supermarket at any given time.
You need about 500 Namibias, I think, if I'm doing this right in my head, about 500 Namibias to make the population of China. So it's just an enormous country, very large land mass, very large population of people. So it doesn't surprise us when a lot of the events we see, a lot of the diseases that break out come from there. We know that in general, things like the coronavirus, we call them zoonotic infections. And that's a fancy word that just means a human infection coming from animals. So anywhere in the world where people are interacting with animals, particularly wild animals, as we get closer to their environments, or if we capture them, bring them into markets, we are going to see viruses and bacteria spreading between animals and humans. And we think that's how this started, right? Everyone's aware that it was this animal and seafood market in Wuhan where all the first cases were first identified.
Now, Doc, it seems like this whole crisis is basically infiltrating in all spheres of our society at the moment. We just had a report yesterday that the Olympic Games might be postponed or completely cancelled because of this crisis. I don't know, what's your take on that? Because it just seems to be like, it's like all over now. It affects tourism, it affects so many industries throughout the world.
Yeah, it's true. And there's so much we don't know. We don't know what Japan is going to be dealing with when the time for the Olympics comes up.
Yeah. July?
I have a friend in northern Italy, and a few weeks ago I was talking with him, and they had no cases at that point. He was sort of joking about, if we had coronavirus, maybe you could come visit us. maybe CDC will send you. And a couple days later, they started having cases. And now they have thousands of cases. And all the schools in the whole city are shut down. They have to stay in their home. Their church services are canceled. So things can change so rapidly for a country and really for the whole world at this point.
Sorry. Every time I want to talk.
My bad.
I just wanted to, speaking on that, I just read a news article, and California declared a state of emergency, I understand.
That's right.
Following one death. What does that mean when we say you declare a state of emergency? In light of this virus, what does it mean?
In layman's terms.
So in America, states declare emergencies. It's more of a process issue. When a state declares that they're having a state of emergency, it allows certain funding to be available to go toward immediate action toward the crisis. So they're not the first state. I know Florida also declared a state of emergency, maybe a couple of others. It means that they're taking it very seriously. It means that they're worried about the potential future damage if there isn't immediate action. So there are emergency dollars that become available when they declare that.
Okay. Now, the virus is not really, as we have already mentioned, spreading in Africa, but we have seen that when it does pop up somewhere, it tends to start spreading very quickly. So is Namibia in particular, and maybe Africa at large, are we prepared to deal with this epidemic should it hit?
I think we're doing everything we can to prepare. Been working very closely with your Ministry of Health, other parts of the government here, other international partners like WHO. We're all in this together. We're all trying to partner to be prepared. I wish we could say that we could do X, Y, and Z, and the coronavirus won't come to Namibia. We can't make that promise. It's hit, like I said, 87 countries roughly now. So Namibia isn't magically protected from that, and neither is South Africa, Angola, your other neighboring countries. So we're preparing as though we expect it will come here at some point, and we want to be ready. We're fortunate it's not here yet. We got these extra weeks and months to prepare that some countries didn't get. They didn't get that chance to watch and see how it's working in other places. We have that advantage, and we're trying to use it.
Okay, and also if you're on the internet, you hear all these different weird treatments that there apparently are for the coronavirus. From sticking vinegar, let's not even go there. So what actual treatments are there?
Why did you mention it in the first place?
Because it's stuck in my head. In any case, what actual treatments are there, and how available are they?
So unfortunately, there is no direct treatment for this. There's no pill that we have yet that kills coronavirus. They're testing some things that we have for other viruses, seeing if they work on this one, but there's no direct treatment. We have the usual things. If you have a fever, we have anti-fever medicines. Panadol, things like that, ibuprofen. If you are having cough and congestion, we have decongestants. But these are treating symptoms. They're not treating the virus. If you get very sick and you have to go to the hospital, of course, there's treatments they give you there to try to help your lungs function better. But even in the hospital, there's no direct medicine. And you're right, there's a lot of rumors out there about doing things. Most of them are just harmless. They're not going to help you. They're not going to hurt you. They might waste some of your money. Some of them are really harmful. Talk about things that would definitely make you sicker than even the coronavirus that people need to stay away from. If you hear about those things, try to do some good research. Look and see where it's really coming from. Make sure it's not just a WhatsApp post. Don't take it at face value.
Cross-reference the sources, Neville.
Dad, can I ask you a question? Now,
What?
These are the type of things that my daughter is asking. Dad, now, I've been watching the news and, Daddy, I haven't seen any children who passed on of this disease yet. So I did my own little research, and it seems like this is affecting older people more
50 plus.
than it affects children.
Your
Would that be a
smart.
fair assessment at this moment?
Your daughter's asking the same questions a lot of health officials are asking. So I'm a pediatrician. My training is actually medicine for children. So I'm very interested. How does a outbreak like this affect children? And in Ebola and Zika, my job was to really focus on children being impacted. And this one, we're not seeing a lot of very sick children. It can affect children, definitely. And actually, something that just came out yesterday from China showed that in one of the cities, they're seeing a higher percent of the new cases in children. And they're thinking maybe now that it's spreading in homes where kids are getting more exposed. But we're not seeing a lot of really sick kids, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Because some of the outbreaks like this, they hit kids harder than adults. So far, what we're seeing is older people, particularly over 65, being hit the worst, and people who have illnesses already, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, lung disease. They're the ones really getting severely sick and most likely to die. We don't know why the kids are a little bit more protected. One thing we're looking at is other coronaviruses. I said there's those 4 coronaviruses that just cause a common cold. Your kids always have a runny nose, right?
Yeah.
My kids always have a runny nose.
Yeah.
They're always getting sick with these minor viruses. Maybe that gives them a little protection against this one. We don't know yet.
And I guess the older you grow also, the weaker the systems become. Our plan fighter, they can testify. Let's check out a few of the comments just to hear what you guys want to know and have to say. Tena Nambwa saying, morning crew. One of the dailies says all 200 Chinese pupils that went to China for holidays are in quarantine, which is not true because some of them are not there. They are back at their business places, like here in Keetmanshoop. Okay, and here's a question for Dr. Eric. So the Corona beer has the virus also. Hi, good morning, crew. Maria, why are you looking at the doctor like he has been exposed to the coronavirus?
I don't know what that's about.
We get those type of comments and questions
Yeah, they pop up here and there.
all the time.
You're willing to sit next to me. You haven't moved away.
There we have it.
Danke Gau says, let the so-called prophets do their miracles and heal coronavirus. Great miracle film for Bushiri. Okay, ask relevant questions, guys. Dr. Eric should be our Minister of Health. With him, I know Corona will have nothing on us.
Are you willing to say?
What is the doctor's name in the studio? Dr. Eric Dziuban. Why are you calling me? You can then see I'm on air. Leonardo Cilio Diaz. Considering how some of our hospitals are in a horrible condition, how prepared are we really? Right, the country isn't poor based on all the corruption. Wish we could be on the level of China in terms of construction and importance of the people's health.
There we go.
Yeah, the Chinese built like a hospital in a week and a half or so. They're probably the only people in the world who have the capacity to do that. But in any case, the state of our hospitals is basically the question here. I'm sure you have been to a couple and have seen that the state that they're in. Can we really contain the virus in some of these facilities? Should we really have an outbreak?
Sure. I want to go back first to the beer question. Because it's actually something that comes up a lot. I want to make it really clear. This has nothing to do with Corona beer. The word coronavirus, it's because if you look at the virus under a very fancy microscope that can see the virus, actually, it has a lot of little spikes around it. It kind of looks like a crown, an old-fashioned crown that a king would wear.
I see.
And the word corona means crown. So that's where it came from. That's where the name of the family of viruses. It has nothing to do with the beer or any other product with the word corona in it. So I don't want people's beer drinking to be
Actually, I would like you to tell them it comes from the beer. Stop drinking beer.
I just want to tell you, Maria, that beer sales for Corona hasn't been affected up until now.
That's the problem.
For the hospitals, this is a concern really in every country, because even if you have a lot of hospitals, very sophisticated equipment, high tech, new construction, when an outbreak like this happens and it gets big and it's an epidemic, and maybe this will be a pandemic, that's what we call it when it's truly a worldwide epidemic. We seem to be getting close to that. The health system isn't designed for that, and your beds get taken up very quickly. So this is what my colleagues in America are talking about for America. It's certainly an issue in Korea, in China, in Italy. Can we handle the huge number of cases that might come with the health facilities we have? And the answer generally for Namibia and any other country is no. We just don't do that, right? We don't have hospitals that are so big that they could handle an outbreak if every second person got infected. So instead we look for other ways to stretch the system. We talk about, if you are not that sick, stay home. Don't just come in because you're worried. If you're actually feeling okay, go and get tested. And then if you're not too sick, you can stay home and do self-care, particularly if you have someone there to help you. What about if you're really sick? That's the people we need to be in the hospital. And we sometimes will set up tents outside the hospital to handle certain things that are a little more minor. Surgeries that don't have to be immediate, right? Elective surgeries. Let's say you're having a mole removed and it could wait a month. It's not urgent or life-threatening. Postponing surgeries like that to free up more beds for people with this disease. So those are the things we do to try to stretch the health system.
I wanted to ask, we talk about the death rate, which gets everybody concerned, but how's the recovery rate? Does it give us some hope in terms of this virus?
Yeah, it does, because if you don't die, you recover. We have not seen people that are just staying sick forever with this. It's not like HIV. With HIV, once you get infected, you keep it for life, and you keep taking medication for life. This coronavirus, and just to be very scientific about it, we're calling it COVID-19. I'm sure you've heard that. That's the name of the disease, COVID-19. It's not one that just stays in your body and keeps you sick forever or needing lifelong treatment. You get it, you either recover, or unfortunately, for that small percent of people, they don't recover and they die.
Okay, checking out some more comments. Start drinking warm water with lemon. No. Okay. And Dilimeke ya Dalimbwa. What about chloroquine phosphate tablets that's circulating on social media? Ask the doctor, please.
Yeah, so chloroquine is something we use for malaria, and I've seen on WhatsApp this circulating that maybe this can help. We don't have that evidence yet, so nobody should run out and stock up on that or start taking it. We'll watch, though. It's a new virus. There's always so much we don't know when there's a brand new virus, right? We have to start from zero. Early December was the first time a case of this ever happened on planet Earth. So you think about that. We've had almost 40 years to learn about HIV. We've had hundreds of years to learn about things like tuberculosis or the plague. We've had less than 4 months to learn about this virus. So there's a lot we don't know. I do hope that we find a medicine that we already have, that's already widely available, that turns out treats this virus very well. And as soon as we do, I'll be the first one here to tell you about it to make sure everyone knows.
Yes, sir.
All right, so for us sitting here in Namibia, well, I mean, for people who are watching, in Namibia in particular, and of course we also have viewers from around the world. How worried should I be? Let's say on the level of
Scale from 1 to 10.
no, Donald Trump to 10. Because Trump ain't worried at all.
I would say I don't think of it as worry. I think of it as taking it seriously,
Okay.
right? On the one extreme, we could say, this is nothing. It's just like the flu. People are just panicking about nothing. Get over it. On the other hand, we could be alarmed. We could, freak out, just change everything we're doing and panic. Both of those are the wrong answers. We need to take this seriously. It's a big deal. It's absolutely a big deal. In Namibia today, like I said, we have 0 cases. So could this hurt you today in Namibia? No. Today we're safe. Is it potentially going to come here? Absolutely. We have a definite risk because, like I said, there's nothing magically protecting us that the rest of the world doesn't have.
Yeah.
So we need to take it seriously. You need your leaders to be preparing for it, and they are. One real benefit I think Namibia has is this partnership, CDC being here. I want people to know I didn't show up last month for coronavirus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been here for 2 years, but actually CDC has been here since 2003. And there's a lot of things that we've been doing together with the ministry to help prepare Namibia for something just like this. 3 in particular. One is the type of health workers you need for an outbreak like this. You need public health workers, epidemiologists who can go out and trace down cases and really figure out what's going on. They've done it for anthrax here. They've done it for the Congo fever. You've heard about these other outbreaks you've had in Namibia before. Yeah. You have trained health workers, and we've worked in partnership on that know how to go out there and find the cases and make sure that the exposed people are being monitored. Yeah. So that's one. Number 2 is an emergency operations center. We help Namibia set that up. So you actually have a physical place. It looks a little bit like the studio. You got TVs on the walls, you've got computers and desk where the leaders can come together and really plan the way that the response is being managed in Namibia. And then number 3 is the laboratory. We've been working with the government, with NIP, to have laboratory capacity to handle things like this. And we think that by the end of this month, Namibia will be able to test for this on their own. You won't have to send samples to South Africa, which is what you're doing right now. And that's what you expect for a brand new virus like this. But within a month, Namibia will be able to test on their own. So it's good for people to know that we were preparing for something like this long before it showed up. And I think Namibia has done a lot to be better prepared.
Okay. I've got, I think, 2 more comments here that I want to get through quickly. Natasha Nampala. But doctor, the question is, with the current conditions of our hospitals, are we prepared since we are all asked to be clean as we can get, whereas it's the opposite in Katutura and other public hospitals? Yeah, I'll switch it off. Morning crew, the aftermath of the outbreak is more worrisome. This virus may never entirely disappear. SARS has relatively disappeared.
It's gone.
Yeah. So do we think we will be able to get rid of the COVID-19?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, it's a great question. We don't know yet. Obviously, it's new, and we just don't know. Will this become a seasonal infection like influenza? That would be really bad news. We don't need another serious seasonal infection that's many times more likely to cause death than the flu. So we really hope not. We really hope that we can contain this, keep the spread to a minimum, and just make it go away. We're glad that SARS went away. We haven't had a SARS case in over 15 years.
Oh.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We hope the same will happen with this coronavirus. There's a lot people can do to keep themselves safe. I know they're worried about the hospitals, but before you even get to the point of needing the hospital, just some of the basics that we can do. Everyone says it, it's true, but washing your hands. It's so simple. You probably tell your kids this all the time. It really makes a difference, though. Yeah. Washing your hands, washing your hands, washing your hands. Running water, soap, keeping your hands clean. Another one is not touching your face. And this is... No comment, Marty. This is a hard habit to break. We touch our faces all day. You rub your eyes, you rub your nose. The reality is, if you get the coronavirus on your hands, it can't make you sick on your hands. But if you get it on your hands and then you touch your face, that's how it gets in your body.
Yeah.
So we can try to start changing our habits. Keep your hands away from your face. Get your kids to stop touching their faces as much.
Hold your mouth when you cough.
Yeah, and especially with your elbow or tissue. If you cough into your hand now...
Everything you touch, you're going to get the virus on you.
So if you accidentally cough in your hand, go wash your hands. But really try to use your elbow. Use a tissue. That's a lot healthier, a lot safer.
All right. Touching. When you say touching faces, something in terms of gender with the deaths, have we seen who's dying more, men or women?
A lot of the studies are showing a pretty even mix. At first, we seem to see a lot more severe illness in men in China. One of the theories that came out is we know that men are a lot more likely to smoke in China, so their lung health might be worse to begin with, and maybe they're getting more severely ill.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know that for sure yet. This is still so early. But we know that men and women are both susceptible. One thing I saw just in the last day that was encouraging is the pregnant women don't seem to be particularly vulnerable. Some of these infections, pregnant women get hit worse than others. Hepatitis E, which we have in Namibia right now. People forget there is a hepatitis E epidemic in Namibia today. Pregnant women are the worst affected. They're the most likely to die. The coronavirus, that does not seem to be the case so far. So that's a little bit of good news.
Equal opportunity virus.
Does not discriminate.
It's true.
Is it possible or is it not possible to develop a treatment regimen from blood samples of people that recovered? Ask Dr. Eric.
So when people recover from a virus like this, they can get antibodies. It's not possible to take those antibodies and make a new medicine out of them, but it does help us understand what maybe separates the people who get healthy again from the ones that don't.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something we want to look at.
Alvin is busy with you, Neville. I don't know what. He says, Comrade Neville, we see what you are doing with blocking sensitive questions.
What are you talking about, Alvin?
I have no idea.
Gaan speel fair, Alvin. Come on. In fact, I mean, we have been encouraging everybody to be asking the tough questions.
Yes.
Because we want to get to the bottom of it. Doc, maybe also on that note, I think in the last 2 months, so many videos have been mushrooming coming out of China. Somebody eating a live bat or a rat or any kind of weird stuff that we've seen. This has been the food source of the Chinese for centuries. Would it be fair? Because, yes, of course, we know that this has been established, that this came from a food source or food market from Wuhan. So what's your take on the different kind of food sources that's basically implicated here?
Sure. So first I would say at this point, it doesn't make a big difference in how we're dealing with the coronavirus. Because as of today, essentially all the people getting this infection in the world are getting it from other people around them.
Yeah.
It may have started with a food source, probably with contact between a wild animal and a person in a market. But at this point, that's not what's spreading this outbreak. You know, I think that every culture has their different foods other cultures appreciate or don't appreciate. A lot of outbreaks do start with what you would call here bushmeat, right? A lot of the outbreaks that have started in Africa. There are a lot of outbreaks that started in Africa because of bushmeat. In general, as the human population grows and we push more into the environments of animals, wild animals, as we bring them into our cities, into these markets, it just does increase that risk because you're getting more exposure, right? In past times, how much exposure would humans have directly with some of these animals? A lot less. But the environment that those animals live in gets smaller and smaller. More people push in. It becomes more likely. But it's not unique to China. And at this point, I think it's worth mentioning, you know, we really want to keep away from stigmatizing people of any nationality in Namibia. Coronavirus does not discriminate. We were talking about just a few minutes ago about gender. It's true about race as well. Of the African countries that have cases, so it's Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Senegal, Nigeria, all, you know, up in North and West Africa, almost all of them have come from France or Italy, actually.
Yeah.
Only in Egypt, I think, was it a Chinese national that brought that first case. So we can't look at somebody and say, oh, you're someone that might have coronavirus based on your race, based on your age, based on the clothes you wear. It doesn't work. It's not helpful, and it's not going to help keep Namibia safe. At this point, it needs to be much more about real risk factors and what we're doing to protect ourselves.
What I will say is like the activity at Chinatown hasn't slowed down.
No.
So I guess we're not that concerned, or we're not discriminating on that.
There's an interesting question here. Good morning, Doc and crew. Is there a possibility of the coronavirus being transmitted in food products? Sort of, I think, like the swine flu. It's like a couple of food products that they were saying, avoid this, avoid that. You might get it from this. You might. Do we have a similar situation here, or is it just people that we should be scared of?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question.
People think we should be scared of.
No, so there's actually no evidence it could be transmitted in food products. People have asked, what about products coming from China? What about, I get my kid's toy at the toy store says made in China.
Yeah.
No evidence at all that there's any danger from any of that. Now, I will say with food, if a person is making your food and they cough on your food and they hand you that food, you can get sick. There are a lot of ways we can get sick from food. Food that's not properly prepared. There are diseases that are foodborne. This one, though, no. It's coming from people. Chinese food is not a risk. People don't have to avoid Chinese food because of this. And even actually the swine flu, since you brought it up, that one also was not transmitted through food. There was just a lot of talk that it was, especially because of the name. People thought, I need to stay away from pork, I need to stay away from bacon. Yeah, that wasn't really a part of it.
Okay. And this one's funny, from Lawrence Foreman. So doctor is saying our ladies should get pregnant to avoid coronavirus.
Doctor is not saying that.
Guys, I'm leaving the studio now. I'm going home.
Why? Are you sick?
No.
Going to impregnate his wife.
No, I got 4 kids. The reason I got 4 kids is because I don't want to have 5. I'm done.
Apparently, everything is made in China, even the end of the world. You guys kill me, man. I guess, unless you guys have any more questions for the doctor, I think we can wrap up the discussion for this morning.
Yeah. No, I think, we had Dr. Shangula here, I think about 2-3 weeks ago in the studio. And you gave more technical insight as to the virus and what we need to prepare for. But I think for us as Namibians, this has been very helpful. I think the stigma around the disease, it cleared up a lot of things for me, the questions that I had. So, and I think it's probably the same for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, just to add, he did say, Dr. Shangula, he said that we actually do have hepatitis E, and perhaps we should focus on that, because
it's still here.
It's still here. We're still fighting that, and it seems that we're all on the coronavirus, and we're forgetting that we actually have something.
As a matter of fact, the last time Dr. Eric was here, that's what we were talking about, hepatitis E.
And the good news is the way you protect yourself from hepatitis E
the same way.
Very similar to how you protect yourself from the coronavirus.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Washing your hands, keeping your hands off your face. If you're sick, stay home. Don't go to work if you're sick. Don't send your kids to school if they're sick. If you see sick people, just stay away. The coronavirus, usually you're only going to pass it to somebody if you're sitting about this close. Not to make you nervous, but just a meter away. Keep your distance. There you go.
On the flip side, though, on Tuesday, the last active case from the Ebola outbreak from August last year, I think, was discharged. So there are no more active cases from that outbreak. So I guess we are done with the Ebola. We're dealing with coronavirus now. My gosh. Okay.
They even, I saw last night that they even postponed the launch of the new James Bond movie. Because of the coronavirus.
It was to be in the cinema.
Come on, man.
James Bond can't be wearing a mask. Come on. I thank you for joining us, Dr. Eric. And we will be reaching out when there's more news developing, and of course we will call upon your expertise.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, how do you've been here for 2 years, okay, in Namibia?
Yes.
Traveled all over the country. How do you find the country?
It's fantastic.
Should we build a wall?
You've got a great country. There are so many great things to see here. I love that you can drive and just see emptiness. You can go and just see these wide open spaces and then find somewhere that looks so different, right? Etosha versus Katima versus Swakop or Luderitz or the south, the Kalahari, the Fish River Canyon. It just all looks so different and it's all really easy to access. It's a really wonderful country. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and for helping us fight the coronavirus. We're out, guys.
We're out.
That's it. We'll be back tomorrow. Mary Agedlich is gone, so I don't know now.
Oh, he's there.
Is he,
Sorry, I just want to add, he has this poster that says, fight gender-based violence. Now you know why I love this man so much.
Yeah. We're going to hear what he's all about.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day. Hannes Kaufman is joining you up next with In the Mix. We've also got Dirk on the info drive a bit later on. And like we said, the crew is going to be back tomorrow morning, so stay safe and try to avoid that corona.